Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello, everybody at home, and welcome to Houselights, specifically House of Fuqua, Antoine Fuqua. And this is what a house this is. I am so excited to discuss his filmography. We have actually reviewed one of his films before when we did Wing of King Arthur, and we did all the King Arthur films. Because he did a King Arthur film, the one with Mads Mikkelsen and other people. And but tonight we're doing his first film because he came from a line of commercials and he came from a line of music videos, a lot like our man David Fincher. And in the same vein of David Fincher, he had a really rough time with the studio making his first movie, The Replacement Killers, from 1998, starring Chow Yun-fat, Mira Sorvino, and Michael Rooker. It's an homage to Hong Kong crime and action films, and it was even produced by John Woo, and you can really see the influence. My goodness.
Yeah.
It's there.
And you see the influence.
It's there.
And before we start, I just want to say, I say this to you tonight. Let us not forget, there is hope.
Yes. Yes, there is.
There
There
yes,
always
the
is.
line that we all quote all the time because of this movie.
Yes.
Every day.
Yeah,
That's
right. Man, you guys are giving me nothing here. I thought I had a slam dunk with the Crystal Method reference. I'm sure there are people in their cars who are laughing, saying, that's a good one, Tristan. And yes, that is true. I am Tristan Riddell, and with me, as always, is Darren Moser and John Mills. And so I'm going to get this right off the bat. This was a Riddell family favorite, because I know you're wondering.
It's always one or the other.
It's been a while.
It's either a Riddell
since we've
family
had a
favorite or
Riddell
it was the
family
trash bin. Yep, there you go.
My dad, he loved this movie so much. He sometimes he would put it, like, we had it on VHS, and he would we had an amazing sound system in the basement. We had 2 subs, tons of speakers. It was amazing. And so he put in the VHS tape, and sometimes he wouldn't even watch the whole movie. He would just watch the opening scene with Keep Hope Alive by Crystal Method, and him getting those drug dealers or gangbangers, whatever they were, just shooting them down, because he loved the vibe of it. He loved the look, the feeling. He would just crank it and it would just shake the house. My mom would slam her foot on the floor, telling him to turn it down. And so, like, I've seen this movie more than a few times, but this is my first time watching the extended edition, and that is the edition that we are reviewing tonight. So you guys, Darren and John, had you seen this before? Is this your first time? Talk amongst yourselves.
I'd seen it before, but I didn't see it in the theaters when it came out. This was one that was sort of just flew by sort of thing. I remember the John Woo vibe was very much catching on in Hollywood, and my reaction at the time most likely was, oh, another one of these things. Like, it wouldn't have made an impact on me. Like, Chow Yun-fat, yeah, his star was on the rise, Mira Sorvino, everything like that. Although, mimic. Anyway, the entire thing, the entire vibe didn't necessarily appeal to me back then. And I think this was podcast homework for something I did with Schindler somewhere along the way. So I wound up watching it for that reason or something. But it's interesting because this is definitely a product of its time. There is I'd say that before we get into all of that, though, since you said this was a Riddell family favorite, the first time your father showed it to you, Tristan, did he fast forward any part where Mira Sorvino was getting changed in a bathroom or was scantily clad while doing her illegal work?
I don't remember. I don't think so. Because it honestly isn't really that bad. Like,
well, listen, the scene where she goes back to get her stuff and leave, there's an unquestionable production decision to be like, let's get a couple of close-up shots of underwear here.
Oh my gosh. There was 0 point to that scene other than showing Mira Sorvino in her underwear. It was insane. What a pointless scene other than to show a flat belly and nice other parts. But it was yes. It is really funny though. Like maybe he did. I don't know, because it's not. You'd think it would be burned in my pubescent brain at the time, but it wasn't. So maybe he did. But like watching it now with adult eyes, you're more like, okay, come on, folks. Like, you're not only are you padding the runtime, it's kind of shameless what you're doing.
Well, it's definitely, because the thing is, we've already like addressed the whole thing where it's like you can definitely see the John Woo influence. I think there's definitely a director sort of picking up on the Michael Bay vibe with some of the camera moves and everything like that. Some of the crane moves, some of the zoom ins and stuff like that feels very much like this movie comes across like just that worlds colliding of what can we rip off from Hong Kong cinema while retaining what Michael Bay does, while also throwing in a few music video montages because the kids are going to love this soundtrack. Like, this is just as the fancy people would say, this is a pastiche of influences.
This was, oh my gosh, speaking of the soundtrack, holy crap. Like, it was, of course I remembered Crystal Method's Keep Up Alive. But when I was, like when we got to Daniel Jordan's She Makes Me Want to Die, I had completely forgotten about that song. And as soon as like you just hear the opening, it's just that woman's voice of "She makes me wanna die," and then just the beat drops. My mind opened like a third eye, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" All this nostalgia is just wafting back, and I was like, "Son of a bitch! I miss the '90s so much."
Darren, I can only presume you had the exact same reaction that Tristan did.
Well, I mean, I had not seen this movie before, but I was still taken back to 90s action. Like, this is a very 90s action movie. It made me remember, like, Jackie Chan movies. Our family, we loved watching Martial Law, which had Sammo Hung. And this was kind of the time when you were starting to like interject, Asian action stars into American culture. That was becoming a thing. And you put rock music behind it, and they did cool spins, and they had guns, and sometimes they'd kick you. And so even though I had not seen this movie, I felt like I had seen this movie. Like, it was firing on all of those cylinders, and I was back in high school. Basically, I felt that. So yeah, if that was the goal of this movie, was to transport me back to the late 90s, it succeeded.
Yeah, but I have to ask a question. You both have seen Taxi Driver, yes? Martin Scorsese's classic examination of a crazy man. We're talking about all these influences, but reportedly, Fuqua stressed to his team that this was to be a taxi driver for the 1990s. I'm curious, did you see Taxi Driver anywhere in this movie?
I might have. I think I saw a taxi in the background once or twice.
Yes. I think that's fair.
That's about as far as it goes.
Yes, it really, really is, isn't it? It's so fascinating to read something like that and think to myself, I wish I'd never read that quote, because it makes me want to judge the movie a little more harshly, I would say. So
no.
Well,
if we're going to judge this movie, the most unrealistic thing of this entire movie, because this was set in LA, right? There's so much rain. Why is it raining so much? That really actually started to take me out of it, because I was like, why is it always raining? We do not get this much rain, like, ever. And it's just like, they just want all the shots to look cool, and they just decided we're just going to turn on the rain machines all the time. Yeah. I mean, we're even in a car wash for a fight, which also is kind of like rain inside the building. Too much rain. I'm almost going to knock it down a star at the end for the rain. Just, it was ridiculous.
I'm glad you mentioned the car wash too, because and this is looking at it with just curmudgeonly old person eyes, but I'm looking at it, I'm like, no car wash functions like this. Like, you're locked in a truck. Like, I'm sitting there like critiquing the car wash, because I'm like, have these people ever been in a car wash before?
It's
when
true.
they back up and he slams it in reverse, and backs up, and I'm like, there's no way you can't back up at speed through a car wash and not crash your car. That's impossible. It goes
It's
one
so
direction.
funny that you brought that up because honestly, I did the same exact thing. Like as I'm watching this, I'm just like, man, I'm old. This must be because I'm getting older.
Yeah, I think I've just been through so many car washes by this point in my life. I'm like, oh no. Like the best you can do at a car wash is you're sitting there like, oh, it looks like they loaded him up quicker. They didn't load him up too quick, did he? He's not gonna rear end me while I'm in the car wash, is he? That's about as exciting as a car wash can get.
I was gonna say that's the constant fear of a car wash is like he's getting kind of close there. But
Yes.
yeah, so let's talk about the action sequences. What did you guys think about the action sequences? Because there was some critique, like this movie did not do particularly well. It wasn't received well by critics. It didn't make that much money. They decided to go up against Titanic. I don't know if you've heard of it. It was kind of a big deal.
Smart call.
Yeah.
Clever.
So I'm surprised it got second place to Titanic when it came out. But it,
I mean, I wouldn't say they're going after the same audiences. Like I can see on paper,
very true.
It making sense. It's just Titanic isn't just a romance movie that only, women are going to watch. And no, it was actually a good movie that people kept seeing. So it just stomped on the competition.
Yeah, I mean,
but
by that point, like the Titanic momentum was just a thing. Anybody who like opened within 6 months of Titanic was going up against Titanic. So like, you can't really fault them for that. Like February of '98 probably seemed pretty safe. And February's always been, before Black Panther came out, February was always, or actually I guess it was Deadpool was the first one, where it's like February was always considered a dead space. You put movies there where it was like they had the best shot of, relatively speaking, success, specifically because there wasn't stiff competition in February. But I mean, you look at the metric and it's like it fell 49% weekend over weekend. Now everybody would be arguing on social media about how that was a good hold week over week. And that means the movie really found its audiences, was doing really, I'm like, boy, how times have changed. My good gravy.
Geez, I wonder what you're referencing. So let's
I don't know. What could I be?
The action sequences. Some people call them. How do I phrase it? It was something akin to where it's just like, then there's this action sequence, then there's this action sequence, and then there's this action sequence where it's just kind of disconnected music videos. Darren, what did you think of that? Like, were you invested in the action? Did you think it was cool, or was it kind of vapid?
Yeah, I can see the critique of a string of action sequences strung together with a plot. Like that does kind of describe this movie, but they weren't bad. I think at the end of the day, these are not the action sequences I was expecting with this leading man. I think they could have gone in a better direction. I think almost anyone could have done these action sequences. So give us something special if you're putting this team together. That's kind of my vibe.
I think it very much looks like somebody getting their first feature film and they say, give us something that's a vehicle for this new star, Chow Yun-fat, and make it competently. And tell you what, kid, we'll give you another job if you can get this one out the door on time and on budget and at least make your money back. I really, this does not have the sheen of something where they thought they were going to have a blockbuster. This has the sheen of this is our calling card. This is our establishing thing. Who can we get cheap? Hey, this kid wants to break in. Fuqua, you want your shot? And it's like, he's like, okay. And yes, it is just action sequences loosely. It's basically like a series of vignettes. But it really feels like that's all they're going for. It doesn't feel like they're going for anything deep at all, which is why his whole comment about Taxi Driver is puzzling to me, because I'm like, Taxi Driver is a really deep movie, man, like way deep. But I think what's interesting is you get this flip where Chinese culture is opening up in the late 90s, specifically because Hong Kong has flipped over to Chinese control. And so there's this sudden opening of everything where it's like, hey, we're willing to talk to the world. Hey, look at these things that we do. This very much feels like a John Woo movie doesn't translate with American audiences at this point. People are going to go watch a subtitled 3-hour shoot 'em up movie called Hard Boiled. But we can do something like it and see if people have a taste for it. And that's what this movie feels like.
I mean, it's interesting. I just checked the dates. So this is the same year, 98, that Rush Hour came out, which obviously is going for a very different take as a comedy, action buddy comedy, but where that, like, I think leaned into Chris Tucker and his comedy abilities and Jackie Chan and his specific type of martial art. We've seen things that Chow Yun-fat does, and this didn't bank on his abilities. Like, you could put a gun in anyone's hand and make him question being a sniper. So I know I feel like I know I've already made this point, but they're just circling around it again.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting
fair.
because my dad was a big Chow Yun-fat fan. Like, I'm talking like he was way cooler than I had ever be when it like, because he loved Crouching Tiger, A Better Tomorrow, Hard Boiled, like you mentioned, John, and The Replacement Killer. So like he was like, he knew about Chow Yun-fat before most Americans did, before he made his debut in The Replacement Killers. And of course, when he became a household name with Hidden Dragon, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. My dad even loved him in Bulletproof Monk. Like, he freaking loved that movie.
Really? I've never seen it. Okay.
Sean William Scott, and he was known as the monk with no name. It's so cheesy. It's beyond cheesy, but it can be heartwarming. Like, it is very much your parents' favorite movie kind of material.
Cool.
And but I think Darren, you're kind of right. Like, when you look at what Chow Yun-fat has given Hong Kong action movies, and then what he's done with wuxia, you're like, he's not really using that in Replacement Killers. He's just kind of a dude with a gun. And like, I think, man, you just kind of opened that up for me. Like the scene at the end, when I started, because, okay, here's the thing. I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I was super jazzed about this movie, seeing it again because of the nostalgia. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, man, I miss the 90s. And when we get to the end of it, I'm like, you know what? I don't miss the 90s that much. Where it's just like, we get to that scene when he's on the car. It's raining, of course, or it's about to rain, and they're in the alleyway, and he unloads like 20 rounds into the car, but he doesn't point it at the main bad guy, Wei, and it looks like he's just shooting the steering wheel. And then Wei gets out, but he's out of ammo, of course, because he wasted 20 rounds in the steering wheel. And then Wei runs away. But then we have this upwards angle on a Chow Yun-fat, and all of a sudden he's just blasting fools away left and right from above him, and you have no idea where he is geographically.
Nope.
You're just like, what's going on here? Where'd that guy come from? Where'd that guy come from? It's basically, you don't even see it from his perspective. You have this weird camera perspective where it's limited. Like, you're not omniscient being a voyeur or being the audience. You have this very limited view of Chow Yun just pointing his pistol, and then somebody falls, pointing his pistol and somebody falls. And this is a real freshman movie from Fuqua. And the studio knew that and felt that. And that's one of the reasons why Fuqua had a huge problem with the studios, because they actually sent a producer to babysit him because they didn't feel like they were getting their money's worth. And so, like, he has a babysitter. He's not able to do what he wants to do.
Dailies.
Yeah,
like, you get him,
and he doesn't have final cut.
It is not covering. It's not happening, and then the producer has to come out. Ugh.
Yeah, well, that he could have, just related to Fincher that way too. And said, "Hey,
well, that's what I was talking about at the beginning."
Right. Yeah,
and I think Fuqua has gone on record saying that Replacement Killers taught him a lot about the studio system, about it being a business, and about what he wants to do and what he doesn't want to do. He says, Replacement Killers is what I don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And he said it, of course, much better than I did and much more eloquent. But I think that's being a freshman director who clearly has talent, but has a lot of obstacles and also is learning. I mean, like, we can't just fault the studio every single time. Like, as a freshman director, he's learning, he's trying to figure out the business, he's trying to transition from commercials and music videos, and it very much shows. And even the writer was like Ken Senzel. He said, he's like, yeah, I really like what Fuqua has done with the movie. It's not my movie. It's not what I wrote.
Yeah.
But I'm glad people like it.
Yeah. I mean, you can still fault the studio though, because they gave this in specific to a freshman director. And it's like something with this scope and scale. The only thing you can hope for is that basically you get shots and the movie happens. This is not like, if you give this to somebody who's got experience, your budget triples immediately, because they're going to look at the script and say, okay, there's only one way I can do this. And they're going to have the pull, and they're going to be able to say, I need this money. Fuqua is not, he has no hand. They can try to churn this out. And, like you're saying, where he learned that it was a business. They picked him because they could make this movie as cheaply as possible because they're risk averse. And okay, that's fine. I'm not dragging the studio for it. It's a business, and that's what they're trying to do. I think that it's an odd play because the star power they bring in, Chow Yun-fat, he's a breakthrough. Mira Sorvino's star is on the rise as well. You got Michael Rooker, always reliable. Everybody loves seeing Rooker on screen.
Always. He's always shows up. He always knows what he has to do.
And then you have Jürgen Prochnow show up as a bad guy. And I'm like, that guy walks in a room, like it's sort of like the Mads Mikkelsen effect, where he like walks in a room and you're like, oh geez. And we're hitting like, genocidal dictator level evil walking in the room at this point. Because he just has that look. I'm sure he's like the sweetest human being on the planet, but like he knows how to look on camera where you're like, oh no, this is a problem. But so why would
Danny
you bring that star power in? Yeah.
Danny Trejo's in there, and he has like 4 words. And Till Schweiger, who was huge in Germany overseas, had 0 lines. And it's so funny because Danny Trejo and Till Schweiger are the titular characters.
Yeah.
And they have 4 words between the two of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also they made, oh my gosh, like just, it's like if you were trying to describe them, like, okay, imagine 2 hitmen walking in an airport. Are you imagining it? That's what they looked like. They looked like 2 hitmen walking in an airport. Like, these were the worst hitmen I've ever seen. These are the worst assassins ever.
They weren't very low key. It was sort of like, yes, if I was sitting somewhere, whether it was an airport or I'm out getting lunch or something, and I see these 2 guys walking down the street, I'm going to gather my family and say, okay, dinner's over. Nope. I'm just throwing $50 on the table. Come on. We're leaving now.
Oh God, it's 1998. Oh God, we're in trouble. We
Happening.
know what this is.
Happening.
It gave me Die Hard 2 vibes when that squad is walking through the airport, and you're just like, these aren't regular people. This is obviously a commando tactical unit who showed up at the airport today. They're all walking with their presents, and you're just like, no, this is not true.
That stern comic book look. Yeah.
Now, Tristan, I want to, not to rewrite the movie, because we do that sometimes, but not often. You mentioned the replacement killers. These aren't the replacement killers. Like, our main characters aren't those people. Is this the kind of movie that could use a shakeup like that, where you lean more into like Rooker and have him be more of the lead, and you keep Chow Yun-fat as like the secondary killer that has to come finish the job, way more mysterious, is not necessarily the sympathetic hero that they're pushing the entire time, but Rooker is? Like, I felt like everybody brought power to it, but they weren't necessarily in the right slots.
I think if you going by like what you mentioned, like going by the title, like if you wanted to lean into the meat of the title, the replacement killers, I think one way you could do it is you have Chow Yun-fat, and he's going to assassinate Michael Rooker, like not the kid, Michael Rooker, and he can't do it, but Rooker somehow catches him, and he's honest with Rooker, and he's like, listen, I was hired to assassinate you. I can't do it. Like I just like, you're a family man. I got history. I can't do it. But the thing is that all I did was buy you time by telling you this, and by not doing it. They're going to still come after you, and now they're going to come after me. We're going to have to tackle this together. Boom. That's your movie.
Yeah.
I like that. Oh man, a buddy film of him and Rooker, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
I'm even
And
surprised
when
myself
Rooker
there.
is
I think that's a
suiting
good movie.
up and is barely wearing his clothes for like half that scene, it's going to be.
He's got a super flat tummy.
Yes.
It's kind of weird.
He
He's
puts
got
on his
some
jacket, but he doesn't
amazing
close it
ass
for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because, I mean, at first blush, I look at this poster and I cast myself back into time. One of the more surprising things, in all honesty, is that he wasn't hired to kill Mira Sorvino. Like, usually that's how these movies go. So I guess points for it not being that question mark, where
I was
it's
gonna
like
say,
not that expected.
do you know who Jason Statham would be the star of that movie?
Yes. Yes, he would.
If that was the case.
Yes, he would. Perfect pick. Yes.
Speaking of Mira Sorvino, now obviously we've joked about that bathroom scene, but in the same vein, did anybody else notice that she got more and more cleavage as the movie went on? Where at first
I may have.
I was going to say, John, you paid special attention, so I know that you did notice.
No, I'm just an observant human being, is what I'm saying. I may have noticed that her outfit altered somewhat through the film. Yes.
Beginning of the film, she's completely buttoned up. Yes. She goes to the bathroom. For some reason, she can't button that top two buttons.
You know, she's in a rush. She's in a hurry.
She's in a rush.
Yeah.
And so her brassiere is showing a little bit, but she's in a rush. We completely understand. But then she's in a gunfight. Too bad. Those two buttons are gone. There's nothing she can do. And so the third button is gone.
The bullet whizzed by and just took the buttons right out.
It would happen to anybody.
Yeah.
But then in the middle of the movie, we see her try to use a safety pin to kind of close the shirt a little bit more. It's too late. We've seen it all. You know, it is
too late. But what's interesting is
John.
No, please go on.
I'm not done. I am not
that's
done.
True. You're not.
Then
please
we get towards the end of the film. No buttons.
Yeah, no buttons left. No buttons left.
But the shirt is still on, but there's no buttons.
But see, here's where I can introduce you to some interesting headcanon here. You know, you can write this story in your own head. Is all of the damage that his suit should have been taking, she kept, the selfless person that she is, sacrificing buttons from her outfit to keep his suit immaculate through all of the action scenes. Because, you know, he barely has any damage on his buttons. So she's a very giving person. And so that's what's going on.
Now, John, you're a big Mira Sorvino fan. I want you to talk about her character in this. How do you think she came across? What do you think about the character? What do you think about Mira Sorvino's portrayal? Lay it on me. Be honest.
I think that Mira Sorvino is a very talented actress. I do. And I think that the camera loves her. You know, she's obviously, she's got a great screen presence. But I don't think that Fuqua, and I'm not laying it just on Fuqua, any rookie director by this point in her career, he doesn't know how to direct her, in my opinion. She feels like she's talking to somebody giving her prompts off screen half the time. And I'm not even blaming her for it. I can tell that it's the director off camera saying, give it to me this way. No, say it this way. It's not as organic as I've seen her performances in other movies. And so I have to lay the blame at a director who, you know, I mean, as we go through, is Fuqua good at giving direction to women? Is going to be a very interesting question to examine through his career.
The Nolan complex.
Yeah, to an extent. To an extent, I would argue some of the finer points of that particular argument. But in terms of this, I look at this and I see a director that isn't having the same trouble communicating with Chow Yun-fat that he's having communicating with Sorvino, and or even Prochnow or anything like that. Like it seems like he's communicating with his other actors better than he's communicating with her. And I think that had I never seen her in a different picture, I'm gonna rag on her performance. But I have a body of work to look at, and I can say this is atypical. What's the one thing that's different about her experience here? And it's the director.
I think that's right on the money. Absolutely right on the money. And I was hoping you would say something like that, because that's kind of how I felt too. I've seen Sorvino give some amazing performances. She is a good and talented actress whose career was curtailed by the human fecal matter that shall not go named on this podcast. But
yeah, by evil, basically.
Yeah, and so it was strange. It was a little jarring to kind of see that stilted performance, but I think you're right. It was from a freshman director. But I think with like there's certain freshman directors that you see where you're just like, I don't know if they're going to get a sophomore attempt. But obviously hindsight is 2020. But thankfully, while watching this, I didn't get that feeling where I wasn't like, oh, this is garbage, this is crap. It was just more of a sense of this could have been so much more. Because I really loved the kind of the gritty neon, the stylized violence. I think you could see his thumbprint all over it. You could tell there was a director who cared about the material, cared about the vision, and wanted to entertain you, but just didn't have the experience to work with the studio and get it there. Fuqua's direction. What did you think, regardless of story and the script? What did you think about the visual flair? Did you feel like he was still trying to entertain you? Or did you feel like, oh, it's going to be a stretch if this guy gets another movie?
Yeah, no, I felt like I said, or like we all said at the beginning of this podcast, this felt like a 90s action movie. And I think I give it a little leeway with that because I'm not expecting some of the advancements in how stories are told and shown and things like that nowadays. I'm okay with a little bit of popcorn and they're doing spin tricks as they shoot. Like, okay, like, is that kind of ridiculous? Yeah. Does it detract from the story? Not necessarily. So I think this doesn't surprise me as a freshman take from this director. But something I kept thinking of when you were talking about the studio is at the end of the day, they have to make a movie. They can't just be like, we have to wait till the right director and the right film and everything is going to line up for $1 billion to roll into us. No, they have to put something out constantly or they're not making money. So even if they make a little bit of money, it's better than nothing. So I think at the end, I'm glad that they invested into this director, into Antoine. And I think, we're going to just see where he goes from here. So I'm glad this movie, came out. Is it the best movie? No, but I'm glad for, if I was back in the 90s and spent $3 on this ticket, I would be okay.
John, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, we talked about it at the beginning, this borrows a lot from Hong Kong cinema. And John Wick borrows a lot from Hong Kong cinema. How would you compare Replacement Killers to John Wick? Now, obviously, John Wick has made a much bigger splash financially and in the zeitgeist and pop culture. There's 4 of them. There's a spinoff movie. So obviously it's more, successful. But how do you think it compares to Hong Kong cinema? Do you feel like John Wick did it better or just better for American audiences?
I think that's the right way to say it. Better for American audiences. John Wick, the first John Wick, feels like, and one of the reasons I love it is it feels like American cuisine, where it is. I have Chinese food here. It's not food that people eat in China. I know this. I'm comfortable with that fact, and so is everybody else. But when you say, do you want Chinese food? I'm not thinking about going and getting some authentic dish from the Sichuan province. I'm thinking of General Tso's chicken. So that's what I'm about. So cool. I like it. And that's what John Wick is. And I'm on board with it.
I love that so much because it's unabashedly American. And I say that without irony. Because it's so true that like we know we're eating Americanized Mexican food. We know we're eating Americanized, Chinese food. We know we're eating Americanized Indian food. We don't care.
No, and then when you have some that comes along that's like, hey, it's Korean and Mexican fusion, we're like, on board, I'll try it at least. And then if it's good,
why not?
We're going to get a chain of these things. That's cool. I like it. Mix it all together, man.
That's how we get John Wick. That's so apropos. I love that. Yes. Yeah, John Wick is the Americanized Hong Kong, and Replacement Killers was an homage to John Woo, but it couldn't capture the essence of it.
No, it couldn't. It was somebody that didn't understand how to adapt it, is what I would say. And so it's a victim of multiple influences coming together, and just Fuqua wasn't there to do it. I mean, the thing, and this is because we all know this is sort of like my pet thing to sort of like fixate on a little bit. But when I was looking at it and Harry Gregson Williams did the score, oh no, like I felt so disappointed, because Gregson Williams has done some terrific scores, including Kingdom of Heaven. He's worked a lot with Scott. He's going to work a lot with Fuqua going forward. But this, I think the score is just as evocative of what we're talking about, the vibe we're talking about, where it's like, this movie is so just grist mill churned out 90s sort of thing. Like, this is exactly the type of score I'd expect from a forgettable action movie of the 90s. And it hurts because Gregson Williams is so much more talented than that. But I guess it's at the stage in his career where he's like, what am I supposed to be doing here? This? Okay. It should sound like this. Okay, cool.
And, it may sound like we're ragging on Fuqua a lot. And
not at all.
But that's the thing, is that, like, I think the only reason why we're being so honest is because we know, again, like I said earlier, hindsight is 2020. We know how much of a talent he is and what he can bring to the table. And I'm so utterly excited to keep going in his filmography, specifically for next week.
Oh, but not just specifically for next week, but put a pin in this. This is a fascinating movie to watch when you see later what he does with The Equalizer. When you see a confident and established Fuqua return to the action genre in a big way like this, okay. Like you're going to see, you'll see. This is going to pay off. Trust me.
I'm excited because I have missed the Equalizer films, and I know that they've made 3 of them, and I'm a big Denzel fan, so I'm surprised that I have missed these. But yeah, I'm excited to keep going. But I do want to talk about one thing before we wrap up, and that is, and this was a surprise to me, where apparently, I don't know how true this is. I know it's kind of been established in lore, but apparently test audiences didn't like the idea of the biracial romance between Chow Yun-fat and Mira Sorvino, and so apparently Fuqua filmed it and then they cut it, but then we have an extended version. But there's not really a romance there. There's like a respect. There's a I don't want to say, what's the term I'm looking for? There's an affection. There's a respect and an affection. But I really enjoyed how they treated their relationship, because there was not that. There wasn't any of that. Will they or won't they? Fine, just kiss her. Like there was none of that, which I really appreciated, because I can't stand action films.
There was no rain-soaked sex scene halfway through. Thank God.
And also, like, this kind of movie didn't need it. And also, there was zero sexual chemistry between Chow Yun-fat and Mira Sorvino.
Less than zero. It actually, if you took somebody to this as a date movie, you probably broke up afterward. Like, that's the thing. Didn't help you out at all.
Chow Yun-fat, very attractive, very charismatic. Mira Sorvino, gorgeous, and just has this magnetic pull towards her. But yet together, there was nothing there. And so
I would make another on-screen comparison, but I might get in trouble for it.
I kind of want to know.
Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman in Far and Away. These people are married? So,
It's okay, because they've been divorced for a long time.
That's true.
Yeah. And so it was interesting. I was just like, it makes you wonder, like, do I believe that it could have been racial? Of course. The 90s were insane. Today is insane, but the 90s, especially when it comes to Asians. But part of me is just like, was it racial, or was it just because they had no sexual chemistry?
I would actually clock it as, if they were trying to force some sort of romantic thing. Yeah, I would say it wouldn't. Maybe I'm being too generous, but I would have looked at it and said, this just isn't working, guys. Like, it has nothing to do with biracial anything. It has everything to do with what you just said. There's absolutely, I do not believe that Chow Yun-fat and Mira Sorvino got along really well, and there was a lot of fun off camera between the two of them. This felt like two people who showed up to work, shook hands, and went home. So yeah.
This is not Pam Anderson and Liam Neeson, folks. This is not that marketing campaign.
I'll tell you what, you roll this back to the 90s and you utter that phrase back then. Like, I'd love to go back to me in the 90s, be like Pam Anderson and Liam Neeson. And I'd be like that meme of that guy with a, huh? Like, what words did you just say?
I have to say, I had no interest. I had zero interest in the Naked Gun continuation, the revival movie, whatever you want to call it. I had zero interest in it. But then this huge marketing campaign of the chemistry between Pam Anderson and Liam Neeson, I'm like, okay, guys, okay, marketing boys, you got me. Like, I'm going to watch this movie just because they are so freaking adorable, outside of the movie.
Yes.
All right. So, Darren, I love to pick on you. And whenever I host, I make you go first. So how many bullets with the Chinese symbol for death are you giving this movie?
Yeah, I'm going to give it 2 bullets. I am taking a star off of because of the rain. I said I was going to do it kind of jokingly, but it's true. The rain is ridiculous. I don't say that to belittle the director. I think it's a very starting point, and I mean, we know where he's going to go from this, and I do also feel that I was maybe a little harsh in how well he used Chow Yun-fat, because again, he has not done Crouching Tiger yet. He has not done all these other things that we know of. So I can't really judge him for his freshman outing into American cinema. It has to start somewhere. So, but overall, yeah, two bullets, and they have a little carving on them so you know which bullets they are and who they're intended for.
All right, John, how many Mira Sorvino shirt paper clips are you, I should say safety pins, are you giving this movie?
I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with Darren, too. This is not a movie that I want to revisit in the future. Like, it's that weird thing where it's like, I'm glad I saw it for this journey because, like I said, I'm going to enjoy coming back to when Fuqua gets a chance to like really shine in the action genre. But this ain't it. And it's competently put together, and I can understand what vestige of story they stretched over these scenes. So I'll give it a 2.
All right, I am giving it a nostalgic 3. I am adding an extra point for the rain.
You sell out.
And so I'm just like, no, it's baptismal, it's cleansing, it's beautiful, even if it's LA. Because actually, when I was in LA, it rained like 3 times when I lived there for like 6 months. But regardless, giving it 3 stars. I know that's a lot for this movie. I know that's a lot. I'm going to give it a 2.5. Actually, I'm going to change my mind here. I wanted to give it a 3. If it was the beginning of the movie, it was the first act is a 3. I think in my mind, I'm like, this is solid action work. It's a lot of fun. It's 90s at its best. Actually, I should say the beginning is 4 stars, but then we just keep getting lower as the movie goes on. There's not a lot of meat on the bone. There's just not enough substance there. And they try to give it substance. Actually, like looking at the theatrical version, looking at the extended version, you think the extended version would add some depth, and it kind of does. But not really. Like, it's the kind of depth that makes you roll your eyes, where I'm just like, this isn't the movie for that. This don't try to do something that's not appropriate for the film itself. So I'm going to change my mind. It's not a 3, it's a 2.5. But the thing is, I have such a soft spot for this movie for obvious reasons, for what I talked about at the beginning. If it kept the vibe, it kept the rhythm and the language of the first act, I think this would be a much better film, but it didn't. C'est la vie. It's okay. We got tons of other Hong Kong action films to talk about and review and watch with Chow Yun-fat. But we're going to continue on with Antoine Fuqua, and it's going to be crazy next week because, Darren, What are we doing?
Yes.
That's right. As we're continuing this decade by decade with Antoine Fuqua, we're going with 2001's Training Day here on Houselights.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.